Good morning, everybody. I am Travis Smith, and I am here with Liz Rich. Hi, Liz.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
And we are going to talk about rates, real estate, a class we have coming up, and then Liz's amazing new program that is literally blowing the internet up right now. But let's start off with welcome back, Liz. It's been a month.
Thanks.
We'll blame our birthdays on that.
We
Just
can do that.
got a little crazy there at our age, Um, so
Shout
right
out to
now,
all the 1983ers.
yes, exactly. And so last we met, I think the rates are about pretty much about the same where they were, because between the last time we met, they had gotten up to around I know the 10-year gotten up to around 4.7, and now it's down like
4-4.
4.4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as you messaged me, it's because of the jobs report that comes out. Do you want to give us some color on that?
Well, yeah, the revised job report came out, and then every month on the first Friday of the month, there's a new report. And when that data is soft, it does great things to the bond market. But really, like what we're seeing right now is inflation numbers and what the Fed said about kind of cooling off and holding off on doing anything. But then we have other data supporting, we saw 50 basis point rally middle of the week. So that was huge. Now we've lost some of that, but today we're kind of trending on being still about 27 basis points up from where we started the week, which means about an eighth in interest rates being better for consumers. So
50 basis points is a huge move.
Yeah, I wish we would have kept it all. Yesterday we lost about 26 of those, and today we're up a little bit. So we'll see. We're trending on those Fibonacci levels, trying to get, the high, low, and what's been in between. So
Yep.
some good consumer data came out today concerning Walmart. I'm not sure if you saw that this morning.
Well, I not only saw that, but I listened to a little bit of their earnings report, and then I read an article by one of their former CEOs, and he was talking about Walmart's big tailwind right now is inflation is pushing high income earners to Walmart,
Which is
and
crazy.
yes,
Their
and so,
numbers are not up because they're inflating their prices. Their prices are holding strong.
yes, their numbers are up because a lot of people from the higher income brackets, and I personally know one who is absolutely loyal to Walmart. It blows my mind. But they are really, I mean, the boost that Walmart had was huge, and Walmart's stock moved 6%, which for a company of the market cap and size of Walmart, we're not talking about a tech company or anything like that. That's a huge move.
Yeah.
But what that also tells us is what a lot of us already know is everybody, even at the top, is trying to save money right now.
Pinching pennies.
And especially when it comes to groceries, my last grocery bill is $515, and that's for a family of 6, just for like a week's worth of groceries. Like
crazy.
That stings. It hurts.
I know I've been buying more bulk. Trying to go to Sam's and stock up on things and just having it, paying a little more up front, but having a larger volume of I think we're all trying to do things to save a couple bucks, but
definitely.
I thought the Walmart data was a really good indicator that things are going to soften. It's going to have to.
Yeah. And the jobs numbers have been coming. They're still not bad, but they are also softening. And that really is the biggest leading indicator, honestly, of interest rates, as you and I have talked about. As well as the inflation data. Now, the inflation data this week wasn't great. Like PPI came out way higher than everything else, but CPI came out a little bit lower, but we're still higher than where we historically want to be. And so I was kind of surprised, I knew the jobs revision number would move it, but I was surprised by how much. Like you said, 50 basis points is huge.
Right. I mean, you don't
Anybody
really
can,
see a 50-point rally very
no,
often.
but like we were talking about yesterday, if we could get one of those and really just push rates down about 50 from here, where 10 years around 4, maybe a little bit below, the market would explode. So,
If we could get the 10-year to like 4.2, I think that could be a real possibility.
and as if anybody's been following me or they've watched some of the previous podcasts, I'm not the most optimistic person about rates. I haven't been. However, I am starting to think, Jay Powell came out and said, we really don't want to raise rates unless we have to. I do think with the softening data, we could see rates go down by the end of this year and maybe a little bit sooner. And that would obviously be good. Hopefully it's not at the expense of too many jobs.
Yeah, that's a fine line to teeter, right? Because, when job reports are in favor of rates, that means the average American is hurting. So you kind of want to be.
Exactly. Like, you want the lower interest rates, but you don't want people to lose their jobs, get fired because, well, from a purely real estate perspective, unemployed people can't buy houses. So, but also from a human perspective, you don't want that to happen to people, So,
well, we have some big news coming up next week, right? We have a bond auction Tuesday. We have Fed minutes coming out Wednesday. Plus, we also have resale and new sale data coming out. So there's some pretty good indicators to watch out for next week.
I did see related to housing starts once again, the nationwide big miss by like 100,000, and same for I think it's permits and starts. Both were down big, and so that tells us that there's not as many houses coming down in the inventory. I know around here in Austin, there's not remotely as many neighborhoods being built as there were a few years ago. Felt like it used to be you could drive in any direction and hit 10 of them. Now you got to look a little bit. So,
but what do you think overall, Austin, inventory wise? Would you say it's pretty high right now?
Man, it's as high as it's been. Technically, we're in a balanced market, but the movement has been so dramatic from tight inventory to this inventory that I still consider pretty much a buyer's market. I do know, I have 2 listings. I had one that's 1.1 million, and over Easter it went under contract with a buyer. He couldn't get financing. Real stupid story behind that. And haven't had much traffic since. Then I had a 400,000 in my neighborhood that I posted, and that we were able to get multiple offers to the first weekend. And so there's still, if you price right, you can still sell. If you're looking to buy, there's deals out there. So I think it is balanced.
I mean, I'm under contract and we have $12,000 in seller concessions to pay all the closing costs and a rate buy down.
Yeah.
I have 2 of those right now. Like, huge money still out there to make it more affordable.
I had a buyer a couple closings ago walk away from the closing table with money.
Wow. That's awesome.
And that tells you how that's going right now.
That's awesome.
But it's out there both ways, right? Like I said, as long as you price appropriately the house, it will move. Unless it's just in certain brackets,
I mean, there's always a hot spot.
There's always a hot spot. I just hope that hot spot comes back to 501 Francis Liberty Hill.
Shout out to the Liberty Hill.
Yeah, shout out to the Liberty Hill. And then, so we talked about rates and kind of a little bit of the econ going on behind that. Liz, we blew the internet up yesterday. What is this new program that you have?
It's so awesome. It's another down payment option. It's a 0% down conventional loan, which there's kind of 2 branches to it. If you're under the 80% area median income, you go one way. If you're a higher income earner, you go another way. But I mean, the 620 FICO, if you have 80% AMI or less, if you're under 50%, they're giving an additional $2,500 to help you get into the house.
Wow.
So, I mean, huge, because typically down payment assistance is an FHA product, which that's great. I mean, but I don't know, you still under those Govy rules, you have that 1.75% upfront mortgage insurance premium, right? So like you're getting into like financing more than you would where under conventional you're not having to do that. So although you're not bringing that money to the table, you're still financing more, which this conventional product kind of eliminates that additional 1.7. I mean, that can be a lot of money. $300. You're talking
1.75. Just imagine if interest rates dropped 1.75% tomorrow, you know? So this, to be clear, this is zero down and there's no PMI involved.
Well, you do have MI, but so
Gotcha.
under FHA, you have the 1.75 at closing that gets financed in, plus you have the 0.55 standard mortgage insurance that gets tagged onto your monthly payment. Under conventional, you don't have that additional 1.75 upfront mortgage insurance premium. You would still have your
The
monthly mortgage
0.55.
insurance. Yeah.
That's still a huge difference though, right there.
Well,
So
remember, conventional is not a set rate. It's based on your credit score. So the higher the credit score, the lower the rate is. I've seen it as low as 1.9, like nothing.
yeah.
I'm sorry, not 1.9, 0.19. So you're talking like $30 a month.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Mm-mm.
So that's really cool. I posted about that yesterday. Unfortunately, that does not apply to my 7-figure listing, but it does apply to a good majority of the listings. And the whole point is to be able to help people get into houses, right? So, and this will definitely do that because the biggest tripping point for a lot of people is that down payment.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if there's any seller concessions on the table, you get this down payment covered, you get a little seller concessions. I mean, I'm seeing people get into houses for less than $5,000.
yes, it is possible right now to get into houses for less. I mean, like I told you, I had one that walked away from the closing table with money, which is rare, by the way. That does not happen
It's
too
not
often.
the average. Maybe more common with a VA product, something along those lines.
For sure.
But Trav, think about this too. Like, what are you seeing on the rental side? If you're, wanting to get out of an apartment and you're moving into a rental house, what's the average out-of-pocket expense there for people?
It's ridiculous. You're looking at first and last month's rent. You have to make 3 times what the rent is. As we all know, rents went way up, but I'm seeing rents coming down.
Yeah, me too.
In certain areas. Investors I've done work for and things like that are talking about how they're getting $100, $200 less this time around because they're having a hard time filling that. But you're right. It's at this point, if you can get into a house for less than $5,000, that's literally about what you're paying, if not more, to get into a rental, especially if it's a decent sized rental and you're paying $2,500 a month to rent,
For
you're
something you
looking
get
at,
nothing out of.
yeah, exactly. And that's what we've always said is, if you already own your home, then your situation can be very variable. But if you're renting and you're going to be staying here in Austin or wherever you might be for 3 to 5 years, buy and use these programs to buy, because you could, if you get a good enough deal and you're doing the zero down and all that, you could walk into some instant equity on a lot of these houses.
For sure. Well, I think that's kind of interesting that we're in a season of you can get into a house that you own for about the same cost it would get you into a rental.
Yes.
Like that's real interesting to me, and something I think if you're not educated on that might be something you're not even really considering. So definitely want to put that bug, like, let's at least price it out and see.
Well, I think we'll definitely be able to put that bug in when we do our first time homebuyers class,
Yeah.
which, so Liz and I are going to get back on doing this. We're going to switch over to Thursdays because that way we can kind of go over the economic data that's already come out as opposed to what we're doing on Tuesdays and trying to kind of foresee that stuff. And while we did a good job of it, crystal balls aren't nearly as fun as talking about what has happened.
I know. I feel like we nailed a lot of things though.
Yes, especially it's well, I mean, because you read the tea leaves, right? Like
Yeah.
the math is the math on a lot of that stuff, and it doesn't do what we want it to do. Like we would have all loved lower rates and whatnot, but it kind of the Fed and the facts told us which way it was going.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to start doing this on Thursday mornings. And by next Thursday morning, we'll have an announcement on Liz and I's first time homebuyer class, which we're really excited about. And we will have a lot more information on the real estate market that's going on because it is very. It's not like last year, where last year was very dead.
Yeah, things
This
are still
year,
moving. We're
this year
still
things
busy.
we are still busy, and still the biggest stat on the MLS is price decreases. So there's just like a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of, like I said, there's houses that are going multiple offers and going off first weekend. There's houses that are sitting for a long time. Our days on market is moving up. So it's a very interesting time right now, but it's, like I said, I think it's a balanced market, and I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Well, I kind of want to circle back real quick just for like a couple minutes. Like we were talking about like job layoffs and that kind of stuff. So I want to probably like just touch on some hope for people. Like if you're in a situation where you are a homeowner and you lose your job, don't allow your house to go into foreclosure. I anticipate we start seeing some of that. So let's get that education out there. You have equity. Like let's sell the house instead of going into foreclosure and destroying your credit. Like that's also an option. But if you're in a situation where you're struggling to make your payments on all the things, let's look at the total amount of money you're spending on your like combined interest for all these debts you have, and maybe tapping into that equity to pay off that debt. I mean, I'm seeing a ton of cash out refis to do debt consolidation right now.
Yeah, because
Like there's some hope for people who are in bad situations.
well, and on a cash out refi, you can have, even though rates are on those, I'm sure between like 7 and 9%, that's way cheaper than a 25% credit card interest rate. That's way cheaper than a lot of auto loan interest rates that I'm seeing right now. So, and I don't mean to mention another lender out there, Liz, but Jackson Roberts made a good point yesterday where he was talking about that he could have gotten a $25,000 seller's concession, but instead they took that $25,000 and paid off all of his debt with it. And so they would have had a house payment that I think was like $477 lower. But instead, now now that person has $1,100 lower in monthly expenses because they paid off those debts.
You can absolutely do that.
Don't go back and max out those cards again afterwards, because then you have the higher house payment.
Right.
Right.
You got to learn the lesson, right? Consumer debt, like you can be walking around in the nicest outfit, but if you got $20,000 charged on a credit card, it's a facade.
Consumer debt is financial cancer. That's what it really is.
Yeah,
and
100%.
I know sometimes it's necessary, but outside of super major purchases, the better you could avoid that. I don't want to go all Dave Ramsey, but the better you could avoid that, the better off you will be. Because,
I think that's the one thing we agree with Dave Ramsey on is,
yes,
I don't agree with everything he says, but the consumer debt part, I 100% agree with.
Absolutely. Because you're essentially, whenever you're using consumer debt, you're essentially paying more for the same product. You're pushing that payment down the road. It's eroding your wealth. We could go all the way down that rabbit hole. So
not today.
Not today, though. Well, thank you so much, Liz. I'm excited to get this back going. Like I said, we will see you all Thursday next week at 10:30?
Yeah.
All right. And we'll have some more stuff out then. Might have a couple of features to bring on, and we're going to have a guest. One of our favorite people is going to be joining us. So,
well, and I think here in another month or two, we might have another major announcement too. So,
yes, absolutely.
We'll save that one for later, though.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Liz.
Bye, guys. Happy Friday.
Bye.